to implementation, but without the support of the government, as I showed you earlier, the government took the lead in both cases, then it will less likely not, implementation will not happen. And in the case of Palau, so the TNC, the Nature Conservancy, with a group of environmental NGOs, because Palau has not implemented its marine spatial plan yet. They plan to start this year. They are being funded by the Blue and the funding has been facilitated by an international NGO, by the Nature Conservancy, called the Blue Prosperity Plan. National Geographic and Pew was crucial in advocacy and research to identify ecosystems and habitats in need of protection. And when the National Marine Sanctuary was being declared. And there is also the Blue Alliance, which is supporting sustainable fisheries mechanisms and providing expertise in Palau. And there is also the Global Environmental Fund and the Nature Conservancy. They are funding facilitators to various projects mentioned. And I go back to my dependent variable just to ensure that I am on track. And so we saw that NGOs have been crucial in facilitating or providing funding, providing technical expertise, and participating in the decision-making process. And so the fourth sub-hypothesis, and this one I will focus on state capacity, but this one, gathering information was a little bit difficult as well. But I still included it, especially the economic capacity, because it is important. So exceeding the 10% declaration of marine protected area leads to marine conservation policy implementation of SDG 14.2 when states have the state capacity for implementation. Now, so economic capacity, when I read about development aid, or for example, the organization of what's it called, OECD, OECD, yeah, sorry. So OECD uses the GIM per capita to determine if a country is if a country can receive development aid or not. And I mean, we've heard this a lot. Our economic ratings is too high. So I wanted to know, so we have seen that NGOs have facilitated funding, we receive a lot of funding. I talked about the Paris Climate Agreement earlier, loss and damage fund. So how crucial are these sources of international funding compared to our GNI per capita? I did not include this part here, but out of the 38 seats, 21 of them are classified as either high income or upper middle income. So more than half of seats do not qualify for development aid. And so this was something I wanted to include in the research. So definitely, if you're comparing the two, international sources of funding is a key factor, because Seychelles is classified as a high income, so we do not qualify for ODA. We're not able to obtain, so I was not able to obtain figures from the national budget of how much the government spends on marine conservation. But some information I was able to gather is that we have lobbied and negotiated as much as possible during my interviews. Seychelles has lobbied and negotiated to obtain funding from international sources to support the marine special plan process. So we can use this argument that the funding domestically was not possible, and there is also the famous debt restructuring, which led to the creation of SECAT, and this was innovative and had not been done before. So this is something that Seychelles is an example of. And I remember in my interview with Seika, yeah, they said that we are able to invest 150, so down there, we're able to invest $150,000 every year in the hope or attempt to continue to grow the resources of the trust. So this answer was after I asked them if SECAT will be able to continue to support the marine conservation in Seychelles. Is it sustainable for them to be able to continue to support marine conservation in Seychelles? And there was, I don't know if I included there. So yeah, they gave me, so for now they said, I forgot there was a year they told me, until there was a year, but I did not include it there. But for now, I think for the foreseeable future, it is sustainable, and SECAT's role is key in ensuring that marine conservation is implemented in Seychelles. And SECAT, so because this is about international source of funding, SECAT, we all know how SECAT was created and where it gets its the funding. So they were able to, they launched the first sovereign blue bonds, and they raised 50 million. So they are always raising capital to be able to finance, and they have the loan with the government, the agreement with the government as well, that there is an interest that they get every year. So for Palau, as part of the Palau National Marine Sanctuary Act in 2015, they introduced the Pristine Paradise environmental fee. So this was a $100 fee that is applicable when you to enter Palau, and it was going to be used to finance marine conservation. But a study was conducted, and it showed that the fund had mixed success, and per year, it was deemed not enough, according to a report, to sustain Palau's marine conservation commitments. And so the report even went as far as to propose that international sources of funding would be better for Palau to implement marine conservation through philanthropists and international governments to be able to finance the implementation of the marine sanctuary. And so yeah, this is some of the international source of funding that Palau has benefited from and is benefited from. Especially I mentioned the Blue Prosperity Plan, which they are conducting their own marine spatial planning now, just as Seychelles did. And this one, I did not get a lot of information because, but I just included it in there. Human capacity. Unfortunately, so figures could not be obtained regarding human capacity in both cases. But what I can say is human capacity available was capable enough to manage and conduct research to implement the zoning and designing phase in Seychelles, and SECAT has supported capacity building efforts through funds they administer, and they will certainly continue to play a crucial role. And in the case of Palau, there is a proposal for a need for appropriate capacity building and training and associated long-term mentoring. And improved long-term mentoring. So the last sub-hypothesis is institutional causal factors. So this falls under the institutional cause of the domestic structural influence of institutional causal factors. So this one talks a little bit about the whole bureaucratic process and how the influence of lobbying or influence against government or for government. So when there is this sub-hypothesis is proposing that When there is a well-coordinated bureaucratic implementation framework with limited bureaucratic contestation in seats, then there will be implementation. So to measure whether or not a norm, so this author Checker, so he said he proposed that to measure whether or not a norm is likely to be accepted. And he proposed three mechanisms which connect institutionalization to social outcomes. So there is strategy calculations, role-playing, and normative persuasions. So normative persuasion is the norm is embedded in implementation, and when it becomes the right thing to do, and the different actors accept the norm and that the norm should be conformed to. But in the case, so the competing causal mechanism, bureaucratic contestation, says that domestic institutions and international actors operating domestically can play the role of policy gatekeepers or veto players if they have sufficient power to block or at least delay the policy change. So this is really about the competing players nationally and how does it affect the implementation of the norm. So in the case of Seychelles, stakeholders, as I mentioned earlier, and this is something that the Nature Conservancy confirmed, the stakeholders have been consulted each step of the way during the marine spatial planning process, and this led to less pushback, less resistance, and the input was taken. The input of these stakeholders were taken into consideration before any decision was taken. Therefore, any potential conflict or objection was averted, and a good compromise was reached, and between which areas would be for sustainable use and which areas would be for no extraction. And in the case of Palau, Palau is conducting its own marine spatial planning at the moment of that I was writing, but they are conducting a similar stakeholder consultation process. The authority is responsible for managing the marine spatial planning in Palau. Have met with different stakeholders where consultations regarding any policy decision to be taken with regards to the Palau National Marine Sanctuary. And in both cases, we can observe that the decision-making process to map and zone areas of biodiversity, research and monitoring processes have garnered input from all the stakeholders, which has smoothened the process of implementing the SDG 14.2, which is the implementation of marine conservation. And so to conclude, we have these 6 different very important factors that we have from this research that we have been able to come up with. Existence of culture of conservation through the use of marine protected areas facilitates policymaking and introduction of new laws. Secondly, the key role of international environment NGOs as facilitator and enabler. Third, securing funding from international sources, either directly or through innovative mechanisms. And local stakeholder engagement, and so being involved in both the planning and implementation phase is crucial. The influence of domestic political economy, it was observed that, yeah, like I said, even though I said that in the case of Seychelles is a key variable, but I guess but more research is needed to be able to ensure that to build on our case research that non-extractive industries is important as compared to extractive industries when marine protected areas are being declared or implemented. And sixth, for human capacity, not every data was available, so to determine its impact on implementation. And I sort of did this causal process chart. And it's too small a review point. So it's basically everything that I've discussed, the main factors and findings. So these are the findings and how it leads to conservation. And so thank you so much for listening. And thank you so much for listening. And this is the street of my university during spring in Japan. It's cherry blossoms. So thank you so much.
We open the floor now for questions or comments.
Sorry, another question. Could you please quickly go back to the last slide? Thank you.
No questions or comments?
Yes. Okay. Manuel, thanks very much. It was a very loaded presentation. Lots of facts. Fortunately, we have done some work with the blue economy along that line. We were talking the pre-MSc phase, and you are right, the implementation phase started last year, maybe around June. My key concern and my experience on the topic, you see that the standard process is that MSc is the government-led process, it can never be led by non-state actors. But when you look at the trend, shouldn't it be, and this is something that I want your opinion, shouldn't it be like, because you see the UN rules and also the CBD, they are binding, and then the Sustainable Development Goal is not binding, and then every country has a national development strategy. Don't you think that, or what is your opinion, why should country not pursue the MSc as part of their national development strategy, rather than like being induced by other commitments, so that it can yield results that are really meaningful to the country? What is your opinion about that?
I think it's true, but it still has to be government-led, right?
Yes.
National development strategy, it has to be government-led, and I feel that because of that's what some of the research on the subject is. Depending on the impact on the economy, as we saw in Palau, because of COVID, they had to open the sanctuary that they had closed off for conservation. So sometimes maybe, it's true that it should be part of the national development strategy, but in some cases, depending on the economy, the economic factors, it might affect the strategies, whether or not it is implemented or not. That's what I think about it.
Maybe another one. Some of the countries that you mentioned, the developed countries, are not following their process. What about the monitoring and evaluation of the implementation phase? Do you have any information on how we can go about this in the case of Seychelles?
From what I've seen is because I wish I was doing the research now because now that they have reached the monitoring and evaluation phase, But when I remember when I did the interview with the environment department, they did tell me that they will open some of the spots that they have. So the zoning, so different spots have been already been mapped. So they did tell me that they will open so the management will not only be government, but it can be like NGOs or private sector, like to be able to manage some of those areas. I think maybe that might work during the monitoring and implementation phase. Yeah, because if it's only government led, it requires a lot of resources, and this is where the role of the international NGOs as well comes, because we can see that they have been really they've been the key factor for us to be able to secure funding in both cases, right? Yeah, I think they will be key as well in the monitoring and implementation phase. Yeah, their role, yeah. Especially in countries that are like in high income countries.
Yeah. And I think that brings me to my third and last question, because when you look at the funding landscape, Seychelles being a high income country since 2015, to me it's some kind of discriminatory, because you see a lot of funding going to like the low income country. You might have innovative approaches, but it's never going to be enough.
Yeah.
I think maybe your Ministry of Foreign Affairs will need to renegotiate this deal, because honestly, it excludes Seychelles from a lot of aspects, and you mentioned the monitoring and evaluation. There's a lot of equipment and resources needed to do this. So I think this is something that should be renegotiated, so that special funds can be created also for some of these high income countries. They are doing it now for climate change, and I think it should also go for fairness. So that is a task for you.
It was good. Thank you very much. Enjoyed it. But just a comment on what was just said. I think the OECD is planning to review the multi-dimensional in the case of the so
we're still pushing for it. We're still pushing for the MVI. But even the loss and damage fund now they have started, but I think it's because of our economic ratings. There's still discussions about how it will work, the loss and damage fund. They're still discussing on how it will work. But I think as what I learned from the research is, without SECAT, we would be a lot further behind. SECAT has been a really crucial partner in this.
And how is SECAT major in this sense, in terms of their grants and other military area?
A good one. I didn't ask them, but that would be a good thing for future research. Because what I was focusing on was mainly can they sustain the financing marine conservation organizations? So I wanted to know, is it sustainable? And from the answer I got, at the moment it is, but I don't know, in the future. But that's a good question.
Just want to check if there are any questions online. Is there anyone online who has any questions? No? Okay. Well, thank you very much, Mario. And thank you everyone for coming this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much.